You're watching NRATV with Bill Whittle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show live from Los Angeles. It's the Hot Mic Show, and without any further ado, after quite a long time, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your actual host, Hot Mic. What? No one's going to see a broken nail, Mike. No one's going to care. This is the NRA. Don't just sit there weeping. Seriously. You know, I don't even know why they named the show after him. I really don't. I'm doing all the work here. I don't get it. Today we have two stories for you. We have a story on fake news, and then we've got the kind of the ultimate in celebrity wishful thinking. It's the celebrity wishful thinking round, but that'll be coming up next. Before we get going, we kind of caught a little fire this morning. As you know, probably, I do a daily call-in on my friend Grant Stinchfield show. It's kind of the highlight of the Stinchfield show, really. And this morning we covered a story about Don Lemon, the CNN news person. And he had some mean things to say about the Trump rally. So we're just going to play about 4 minutes of that from this morning because we just think it's so terrific. And it's good to get Grant the exposure, you know, really helps him a bit. So let's have a look at what we said this morning on the Grant Stinchfield show.
Truth is the kryptonite of the leftist anti-Trump media. It exposes them for who they are, a group of elitists who hate every American who supports our president. That hatred was on full display after President Trump eviscerated the fake news media in Phoenix. And none of them were more offended by the truth than CNN's Don Lemon. Yes, Don Lemon, a so-called journalist who is so bad at his job that even his colleagues in the fake news media named him the worst journalist of 2014. Lemon responded to President Trump's clenched fist of truth on the lying media with this.
I'm just going to speak from the heart here. What we have witnessed was a total eclipse of the facts. Someone who came out on stage and lied directly to the American people.
I don't think so, Don Lemon. You want to talk about a total eclipse of facts? Let's talk about you and CNN. Here's what a total eclipse of facts looks like. Hillary Clinton laughed at a rape victim. That's right, she laughed. And the audio tapes prove it. Surprisingly, even your CNN confirmed it. Here's that proof.
Listen to her laugh, describing the moment she delivered her forensic expert's findings to the prosecutor.
I handed it to Bailey Gibson. I said, well, this guy's ready to come from New York, but this miscarriage of justice.
Even when you can hear her giggles, you, Don Lemon, continued to run political cover for Hillary, calling yourself a journalist when you act like a Democratic Party operative.
Exactly. She never laughed at the young lady. At her. She was it was a court-appointed attorney, and she was basically a legal aid.
Oh, Don, you want to talk about an eclipse of truth? How about when you look Sheriff David Clark in the eye and push the idea that all police are racist at a time when they're being targeted by the violent left?
I'm looking at 3 dead cops this week, Sheriff, and I'm looking at 5 last year. You trying to tell me to keep it down?
Just please. If you'll just please. We can keep it civil.
Keep it civil, he says. Are you kidding me? Don Lemon, your lies push division, hatred, and violence, and you're telling Sheriff Clark, who's 100 times more of a man than you, to keep it civil? Let me ask you, Don Lemon, were you civil when you eclipsed the truth and victim-shamed a woman who insists Bill Cosby raped her and asked why she didn't just, what, bite her way out of danger?
Right. You said he made you perform oral sex.
Right.
You know, there are ways not to perform oral sex if you want to do it.
Oh, is right. Sadly, Don, you have a history of siding with the rapist, not the victim. And if you're going to talk about an eclipse of truth, perhaps you should mention your colleague Donna Brazile. She gave debate questions to Hillary Clinton ahead of time. Perhaps you should mention how CNN colluded with the Clinton campaign to steal the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders. And let's not forget this eclipse of truth when your network deliberately lied to try to erode our Second Amendment. Thank God the NRA and Wayne LaPierre stepped in.
Apparently the only difference between the New York Times and CNN is that when a reporter for the New York Times fakes a story, he's fired, and at CNN, he's not.
That could be today, but instead it was 2003. CNN is the originator of fake news. It is no wonder why Don Lemon would make a home there. Lemon, you use sensationalism, like holding up a Confederate flag to try and save your failing ratings. You accuse the president of being racist. But that's what the left does when they disagree with someone. And finally, Don Lemon, let's not forget the true eclipse of truth last night. You led a fake news 8-person panel and covered up the fact that the violent left attacked our police after the president's rally. You didn't show the violent left holding up obscenities or desecrating our flag or holding up pictures of Linda Sarsour, an anti-Semite who's called for jihad against our president. That truth doesn't push your agenda of violent lies. So, Don Lemon, you eclipsed it.
Well, Grant Stinchfield thrashed him this morning. We thought we'd re-thrash him this afternoon. I think that's pretty compelling and pretty much another of the many nails going into the coffin lid of CNN and the mainstream media currently known as the fake news organization. Moving on. Our friend Chelsea Handler, a liberal talk show host who's noted for her comedy, had a little tweet yesterday during the solar eclipse, or just before the solar eclipse. She said, "Wouldn't it be nice for the eclipse to coincide with Trump's resignation and or arrest, preferably in his underwear and handcuffs?" Well, we got the story from Michael Horn at the Daily Wire, at least this particular coverage of it, because as Michael points out, Chelsea Handler had also retweeted a tweet from the House of Cards creator named Beau Willimon. And here's what Beau Willimon wrote, and here's what Chelsea Handler retweeted. "Oh yeah, baby, let's do this already. Enough is enough. Trump is, quote, unable to govern, unquote." But folks, this is the one from Chelsea Handler that really got my attention. This is her quote in the tweet. "To all the generals surrounding our idiot-in-chief, the longer you wait to remove him, the longer your name will appear negatively in history." Now, in a moment, we're going to bring in our guest and talk about this kind of wishful thinking on the part of Hollywood. But in this one particular case, just because I find it interesting, I would say that what she just said there is not just wishful thinking. It is, in fact, by any reasonable definition of the term, it's actual sedition, which is one of the very, very, very few places where free speech is legally limited in the United States. Just because I'm a stickler for these kind of things. U.S. Code Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 115, Section 2385. I'm paraphrasing here. "Whoever knowingly or willingly advocates, abets, advises, or teaches the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the government of the United States by force or violence, or by the assassination of any officer of any such government, or whomever with intent to cause the overthrow or destruction of any such government prints, publishes, edits, issues, circulates, sells, distributes, or publicly displays any written or printed matter advocating, advising, or teaching the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the government, any government in the United States by force or violence, or attempts to do so," here's the zinger, "shall be fined under this title and imprisoned not more than 20 years or both, and shall be ineligible for employment by the United States or any department or agency thereof for 5 years following this conviction." Just a little note, Chelsea. I'm all about free speech. And look, I'm not going to tell the government about this whole sedition thing, so don't worry. But for the half of the country that actually voted for him, this is kind of obnoxious. And in order to get to the bottom of this, I'd like to bring in a friend of mine who's coming to you live from about 1.25 miles away from here. Mike Knowles is the newest addition to the live streaming program over at Daily Wire. Mike's been a contributor to Daily Wire for quite a long time. He's an old friend, and he's got a brand new show called, what's it called, Mike?
It's called The Michael Knowles Show. And I will say, Bill, thanks for having me.
That's fresh.
And also
that's very fresh.
You know, I'd like to say too, my preferred pronoun these days is Hot Mike. So if you're ever using the pronouns, I think Hot Mike would be the preferred way to go.
Thank you very much. Well, if we ever decide to replace Hot Mike, we will get you on the phone and we'll rename the show. We'll rename it the Tepid Mike Show. Okay, so here's the thing, buddy. I keep thinking that we've seen the end of the left losing their minds over the election of Donald Trump. But when you have celebrities basically saying to the generals, can we please have a military coup in this country? Can't we please have a military coup? Kind of makes you wonder where the boundary of their sanity is.
They have transcended parody at this point, Bill. I love that Don Lemon clip. I loved the rally last night, and I don't know which was more entertaining or edifying, the rally or Don Lemon. I think I've watched it about 5 times today, and it's impossible to parody these guys. They have gone so far into that direction that they've gone so far into the realm of projecting their own self-image onto President Trump. I don't know how we could possibly make jokes about them.
Well, we'll try. There's constant talk on their part about impeachment, which is coming any minute now. Trump's going to be, perp walk to the waiting van with his head and covering his face with the handcuffs on, and it takes a fair amount of evidence for that to happen. Mike, have you seen anything in the last 7-8 months, anything that would give them that kind of hope on a reasonable basis?
There's nothing that would give them any capacity of reason. They forfeited that capacity of reason on November 9th last year when their collective head exploded on the left. And it's a joy because President Trump gave an excellent Afghanistan strategy speech 2 nights ago. It was sober, it was presidential. He gave a rousing, excellent rally last night, full of covfefe, but nothing untoward about that rally. He was speaking directly to the American people who despise CNN and the mainstream news media. And the flurry of tweets began out here. I know you love watching these crazy celebrities. We got tweets from George Takei, Don Cheadle, this man is a menace, shameful leader of hate-mongering, John Cusack. John Cusack said that Donald Trump is clearly mentally ill and unfit. I'm glad. I was waiting to know what John Cusack thought about the president. I'm so glad he could diagnose his illness.
Yeah, and if anybody's an expert on that subject, he'd be the first guy I'd go to. Yeah, I can't wait to hear John Cusack's takes. Got any others?
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, I actually give Rosie O'Donnell a little bit of grace. She went on a totally profanity-laced tirade. But, she has been feuding with the president for 10 or 15 years now. So I give her my favorite one was Dan Rather. Dan Rather, the embodiment of the fake news, tweeted out, quote, "This was Trump as candidate, uncaged, unscripted, unabashed, and frankly, unhinged." Dan Rather run out of his career because he played false, forged documents on his show just weeks before a presidential election, the embodiment of fake news, and he's supposed to have the credibility to tell the American people that we need to boot this guy out of office, or if Chelsea Handler has her way, to do something more forceful.
And if we want to continue Dan Rather's little string of rhetorical flourish there, we might add the word unemployed, Dan.
Right. That's right, mercifully.
Because there comes a point when the internet, unfortunately, we should do a whole show on this, and I'm sure we will, on the whole Dan Rather scandal with George Bush back in 2004. Mike, you and I watched the returns together over at Daily Wire, on and off camera together. I frankly didn't think he was going to win. I believed all the fake polls they published, and then we all just kind of looked at each other like, hey, it's kind of like watching some gigantic underdog. It's kind of like watching the U.S. beat Russia in the Olympics, is what it was kind of like for me anyway. And I remember thinking, Mike, that, okay, well, this is going to screw up their plans, and there's going to be some pushback. But I have to tell you, I did not expect this kind of lunacy. And the one thing I actually didn't expect was for hearing major celebrities calling for violent overthrow of the government. De Niro said he wanted to punch Trump. Madonna said she's had thoughts about blowing up the White House. Chelsea Handler is saying, come on, generals, overthrow the government. So what's going on here, Mike? What about Donald Trump is so offensive to the celebrity mind?
Well, I was hoping that if they were going to call for those assassinations, they would do it from Canada, where they all promised to move if Trump were elected. That didn't happen. And it's
but that's a long-distance call, and they can't deduct it.
That's true. That's right. They can't use their tax loopholes.
Sorry.
We're sitting next to each other on that couch. None of us thought this was going to happen. I remember I was so embarrassed the night before I posted some fake news story about how a Princeton study said that Hillary had a 99.7% chance of winning. Did not turn out that way. And I think it's two reasons. Two expectations were subverted. On the one hand, the celebrities and the fake news media and the Democrat hacks, but I repeat myself, all have been much more hysterical than even I thought they would be. And President Trump has been much better, much stronger, much more able to grow into his office than I thought he would be. This guy, I don't know if you agree, Bill, he has really grown into his office. He's been relentless attacking his opponents and the media. He's changed his mind in a few areas when he learned new information, and he's basically stuck to his guns. I mean, in both of these instances, the expectations have been exceeded. And on the one hand, it's good for our republic, and on the other, it's very entertaining to watch these celebrity heads explode.
When we come back from our break, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with our friend Michael Knowles, hipster, celebrity watcher, and host of the Michael Knowles Show over on Daily Wire Radio. And when we come back, I will test out my pet theory, which is they hate Donald Trump so much because Donald Trump is one of them. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. This is the Hot Mic Show on NRATV.